Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
Wow, guys, it's been a while since we've all been together, and we're not even really together.
We are virtually.
I miss you guys so much.
I know,
Right?
this has been hard. These last few
Crazy
weeks have
times.
been hard. Yeah, crazy
Yeah.
times.
But
It's
thank
weird.
heavens for technology.
Yes, that's
Yeah, it's definitely like an unprecedented situation for all of us because I don't think we've never gone through this in our generation before.
no.
I don't know if anybody's ever gone through this.
Yeah, not like
It's crazy.
yeah. It's really insane. So, to think at the beginning of the month, my family and I we were in Disneyland, and now here we are. We're still in
yeah.
March, and like the world is totally different. Like the idea of even going to Disneyland is insane right now. Like that's not going to happen. So just bizarre.
The
So-
year of March has taken quite a while to get through.
Yeah, the year of March.
It has.
Oh my gosh.
It's-
Seriously.
Yeah, January is typically the longest month in the first
Yeah.
quarter.
Mhm.
March has definitely beaten it this year.
This is the longest March of ever. It's going to be so weird in 9 months when everything's trying to catch back up because the movie theaters are closed.
Yeah,
Right.
Movies are being pushed back, both being shot and being released, and a lot of things are going right to streaming services. So they've actually, the Academy has actually changed the rules, and so have the Golden Globes on what is going to be able to be nominated next year because of this. Like, this is really unprecedented when it comes
Yeah.
to movies.
Mhm.
which is good news for Trolls World Tour because I know they're hoping for that Best Picture nomination, and they're going straight to streaming.
And
They will.
because we're all streaming, we have some weird things to talk about today.
That's absolutely right. Speaking of weird things to talk about, yeah, everybody's binging, and I hear there's this show on Netflix you guys have watched and binged, and it is the show to watch right now, from what I understand. A little something
It-
called The Tiger King, not a sequel to The Lion King. I understand, not even related.
No, yes, it's,
No.
no, it's definitely not The Lion King. It would be a very different premise if it was. But the Tiger King. So it's been on Netflix for almost a month now, and I scrolled past it a few times. I put it in the watch list because I knew the minute I had to dive into this show that
Mhm.
I was going to have to do all of it at once. My boyfriend and I watched one episode one night, and we were both really tired, and we're like, no, we got to put this on hold till we have full, capacity of everything. And then
You don't want to
Wednesday,
miss a
I just
thing.
no, because you don't even sit. I didn't sit back on my couch. I was just keep moving forward and moving forward. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what world is this? How do I not know that this exists in my world?
Completely. And I was telling some friends, I said, if this thing was in a dramatic movie, we'd be going, this is so stupid. This is so unrealistic. And then
This would
here
never
it
happen.
is. Exactly. And here it is. We have all this live footage, and these people are talking about the craziest things. And it's just,
So
it's a
what the-
nutball show.
what the show is, if you have not watched the show yet, is that the whole series revolves around a guy called Joe Exotic. And Joe Exotic,
That's his real name too, right?
Exotic is not his real last name.
He got it
but-
changed.
Yeah, he got it changed. He had a couple different last names, and when you get into the show, he is a total made-up character, but he's not made up at all.
Right.
And he gets arrested while supposedly planning, and I'm going to use quotation marks, planning to hire an assassin
Hitman.
for his, I guess, nemesis. Would you call her? Because I feel like that's an okay word to use.
Oh, yeah. Totally use Nemesis. Yeah.
But so when you first start watching the show, you kind of are feeling for Joe, right? You're thinking all he wanted to do was start this zoo. He loves tigers. He loves big cats. And then you start learning about this underground big cat ring that's in the United States, and I'm just thinking, is there a tiger that lives next to me? Do I not know? I'm all paranoid. I'm searching through. Googling stuff to find out what's going on. And then as you get into the series a little bit more, you're thinking, well, wait, so do I not like him? Do I like him? What did he really do that? And you can't write this. Like, it's just crazy.
So let's talk about Joe for a second, because Joe is a mullet wearing redneck from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He loves guns, shooting off lots of guns, likes to buy explosive powder and dynamite and blow that
I didn't even
up.
know you could buy explosive powder.
Right.
Like, I'm watching this and I turn to my boyfriend. I'm like, you can just go buy that in the United States?
At Walmart.
Yeah. I don't know why I've been wasting my time buying toilet paper then. Like, explosive powder is obviously what I should be stocking up on right now.
Don't say that. People do not listen to Jake. We do not want any explosive butts on it. But yeah, so he's this guy, and he owns this big, huge, and he calls it a zoo. He is not like Carol Baskin, where she has, and we'll talk about Carol in a minute, but he has like a zoo with all these big cats on it. And I mean, the mullet, this is what I think about the mullet, you guys, is that we're all going to be confined and cutting our own hair or having our partners cutting our own hair. So there's going to be so many Halloween costumes of Joe in October, but nobody's going to have to buy a wig because our hair's already going to be that hair. Except for you, Tracy. I'm sorry. You're probably going to have to buy a wig.
Fingers crossed.
But you could like totally chisel out like his mustache.
I could totally do the beard mustache thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I do want to say that this is not for younger kids.
No, definitely not for the younger audience.
Teenagers and above, depending on how you raise your teenagers. It's definitely just a train wreck of a show, but there are some, there's some pretty heavy content in here.
Yeah. So going back to Joe for just a second, because we got to finish explaining about him. So Joe is also gay, and Joe has...
He doesn't even have to say it either, and that's not me being rude. It's just
absolutely
factual. Yeah.
And he has 2 husbands.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a polygamist.
Who are neither gay.
Neither one of them are gay. Mm-hmm.
No, he's a predator.
He supplies them with meth and with marijuana and guns and guns. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So
he has over 200 cats. He's got alligators. He's got chimpanzees. He's got bears.
He has his own YouTube channel.
Yes, Joe Exotic TV.
He goes on, and when he wasn't in jail, he would go on the YouTube channel, and he would call out his nemesis, Carol Baskin, every single day on his YouTube channel, and actually threaten her life on the channel with verbal and also like reenactments of how he would hurt her. Not smart, because if you're going to commit a crime, you probably shouldn't do that.
He holds up robbing this bank. Here's how I'm going to do it, and all the evidence. Yeah, that's not. Or kill someone, even worse.
He holds up a snake and says that her birthday is coming up, and for her birthday she should get some snakes, and how that would just kill her. And then a few weeks later, on her birthday, her mailbox is stuffed with real snakes.
So what I think about both Joe and Carol Baskin and the other guy, there's another guy. It's not even done.
I've heard stories of the other guy, and he's not great either.
So there's like 7 guys, and then Carol. But the other guy who owns, it's not a rescue, but it's also not really a zoo. I don't know what it is. They're all really into themselves. Like they think that they are everything. So as you're watching this, if you don't know what a narcissist is, you know by episode 2. Like you're like, what's going on here? It's called narcissism. That's what it is. But I mean, I think if you're going to own cats that cost you $2,000 to $3,000 a piece, you think you're the, you're the bomb at that point.
The bee's knees.
But it goes into, like, right off the bat into the first episode, you start seeing they're interviewing Joe's staff. They're all missing limbs, all of them.
One of the girls had her arm ripped off by a tiger,
and she
had it amputated
5 days later. 5 days after it was amputated, she went back to work.
Well,
she's like the most sane one out of the group.
That's scary.
Yep.
She's
She's the
pretty
most normal.
level-headed. There's a guy that's missing both legs. He did not lose those to cats. But I did feel for that guy, like at the end
Very
of
much
this
so.
series. He had to go and actually go to court and testify against Joe. And I'm so glad that he did, because you find out at the end, and spoiler alert, we're talking about the show right now. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're going to get spoilers. Jake hasn't seen it, so we're just going to reenact it without the mullets.
And
Free Joe.
We're even trying video this time, so everyone will get to see you guys reenact it. It will be fantastic.
So this guy has to go in and testify against Joe, and he was such like a decent employee. These employees work their butts off because these cats don't rest. They don't, like, you always have to be taking care of these cats, right? These animals. And Joe ends up, you find out like the second to last episode, that he was like shooting these tigers.
Yeah.
What?
Which, like, I didn't care about a whole bunch of the other stuff, but like the minute you shoot the things that you bred, that you said you would take care of, and they trusted you, like, I am pissed now, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Yeah. So it costs several $1,000s a month per cat for food. So what they do in trying to offset food costs is they get expired meat from Walmart and they bring it in by the truck, and then they're feeding that to the cats. Well, they open up a pizza restaurant called Zooters.
Yes.
Zooters, and they use the expired Walmart meat on the pizza in order to keep the food costs down.
Gross.
And then he gets roadkill from people, and he also gets cows that have passed away delivered to him, and then he feeds that to them as well. So he can't.
I think that's okay for the animals, because meat would have just been thrown away. But to feed it to humans, I don't know about that.
Oh, for sure. But then towards the end, when he's been sued and he's been found guilty and he's been charged with all sorts of crimes and he can't afford things, and so the only way he's making money is by taking the baby cubs and using them as photo props and visits with people. The older cats are nothing but a cash. They just drain him. So he ends up killing 5 cats and burying them on his property.
And thing is, they have evidence of all of it, because he hires a guy named Rick Kirkham, who produces his TV show, and he wants him to film everything. So Joe is filming his entire life, when he's eating, when he's cleaning, when he's yelling at people, when he's blowing things up, when he's shooting cats. Like, everything is recorded. And this guy is just like, I am getting hired, like getting paid to basically take this guy down.
Yeah, by himself.
Yes, by himself. This is how much he is so into himself. And during the series, during his life, he even he runs for president. Could you even imagine that all this is going on? And one of his husbands...
Wait, imagine a crazy narcissist as our president? No, that's hard to imagine.
No, right? At least this guy actually, he knows what he's done wrong. So
and it's interesting because there's one point where they're talking to a potential voter, and she's like, well, he speaks plain and he tells it like it is, and he doesn't put up with bull crap, and so that's why I like him. And I thought, that is exactly why we have Trump in the White House.
So he could have gotten elected if he had gotten anyway.
So. Who knows? But he did make the Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. They had him, and even though John is making fun of him, Joe loved it because he was on national TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know you brought up Jeff Lowe earlier, but I was actually talking about Doc.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, Doc.
This is the thing about Joe and Doc Antle. They're both big cat people, and they're both predators. So they bring in people to work for them and to be married to them or date them that have nothing else in their lives. They go out and they seek out people that have such low self-esteem that they will do whatever they want them to do.
Yeah,
and
people who are just getting out of prison.
People that don't have anybody in their lives that care about them. And so that's why, like, these two men marry a man. They're not even gay. And then with Doc, like, he's got all of these young people that are doing whatever he wants, like a lot of nonsense they shouldn't be doing, because he has cast, because he has fame, because he has money. And that, when you start learning a little bit about Jeff, it's the same thing. So it's like all these cat people are people predators.
Yeah.
Like they pretend that they care for these animals, but they're really just taking advantage of so many people. Like I'm watching in the first two episodes, and I don't have anything against people that have bad teeth. I have bad teeth, but one of Joe's
Oh, this one guy.
husbands he is like such a nice guy. He has really bad teeth, and Joe is explaining how he goes to a mall on a weekend and makes 10 grand off of people like petting tigers. And I'm like, could you just give this guy 2 grand to fix his teeth? Like
he gives his employees $168 a week, and they're
Holy
working
cow.
they're working 12 to 18-hour days, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So
as much as this is funny, and as much as like people are like all into this with the mullet and the craziness, like this is really serious. Like, I mean, a lot of these kids, these boys that Joe is into are just barely legal. A lot of the girls that Doc Antle brought into his life are just barely legal, and they're doing illegal things. I mean, they're basically like, it's like a cult.
Yeah,
very much so.
So I guess my question is, well, first question is, where does this all take place? Like, Joe's from Oklahoma, but is this all based in Oklahoma, or?
No.
For the most part, Carol, it's very interesting with Carol because she tries to portray herself as Big Cat Rescue. And she says that she's this rescue, and she rescues them from other places and gives them places to roam. And in fact, they're in fairly small cages. She's in Florida, and she's doing the same thing everybody else is doing, but she's claiming she isn't. And they have her on tape talking about how she's been breeding cats and how she's been buying cats, and then later says, "Oh, I don't do that sort of thing."
Yeah, she did it early on. So she did it early on in her career, but she doesn't do it now. And she actually does go to legislature trying to get so that there can't be any new cat breeding. And this is why it's important. Yes, she used to do it, and I'm not really on anybody's side here, but I'm just trying to get everybody to get like the right information. So she did it early on in her career, and she doesn't do it anymore because she realized that it's bad. And everybody's like, well, why is it bad that you're going to take a newborn cub and you're going to have people meet it for educational purposes and make a little money because these cats need something? Well, one, these cats didn't exist before these people were breeding them. Two, you find out by the end of the episode that there are more living giant cats in the United States than there are in the wild in the entire world. Wow. There's like 10,000 plus cats, just private owners in the United States. That is totally ridiculous. So she found out, she realized this wasn't a good thing to do, and so she started the rescue. So now all of the cats that are in her possession are rescued cats, and they're all spayed and neutered. They cannot reproduce, because what happens is these cats are only small for a certain amount of time, which means they can only make so much money for a certain amount of time. And then as soon as they've grown past the cute phase, they either have to sell them to somebody who wants them, which is illegal, by the way, or they have to put them in their zoo, and they'll have to have, like what you said, it takes so much money to take care of these cats, or they have to donate them to a zoo, or guess what? You either shoot it, or the one guy, Doc, he puts them in a gas chamber and then burns them. Yeah.
Yeah. The cubs are only used for photos and for personal meet and greets, if you will, for 12 weeks. And then after that, they can really hurt somebody. So that's what they're limited to. So Val's right. You've got 12 weeks to make money off of these cats, and then that's it. And after that, they just drain your money.
So which one of these people owns the zoo at Lagoon?
Oh,
just kidding. Wow.
Carol, Val, let's talk Carol for a second.
Okay.
That's a good change of subject. Sorry.
I have no comment.
It was a little topical there.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So Carol, there's a whole episode devoted to her, and she is like 19 years old. She gets in a fight with her husband. She goes walking down the street. In the reenactment, she's barefoot. I don't know if she was in real life. And this guy pulls up in a car and tries to pick her up. And she says no. And then he circles around the block and tries it again. She says no. Circles around the block again. And she notices that there's a gun on the passenger seat. And he says, "You can hold this gun on me so I don't do anything. I just need to talk to somebody." So she agrees. She gets in the car, holds the gun to him. They have a conversation. She ends up spending the night with him, and then eventually they get married. They've been together, and he's very, very wealthy, millions and millions of dollars, between $5 and $10 million is what his lawyer estimates. And then he goes missing, just completely disappears. And there's a lot of suspicion that she killed him and fed him to her tigers.
It's one way to dispose of the body, I suppose.
Yeah, and his family thinks that she did it. Some of her family thinks that she did it. She has a new man now who just,
yes,
they are just inseparable. If you didn't know,
they wear matching tiger hats.
Yeah, her whole closet is tiger stuff, which is fine. Like, I mean, I get, like, I'm all into Disney, so I get it.
Right.
I don't know if she killed her husband or not. There's all the hashtags.
Do you think she did?
I don't know.
I kind of think she did.
From what it sounds like, he wasn't a great guy. That doesn't mean, like, kill your husband and feed him to the cats if he's not a good guy. But, I mean, I don't know. It's so weird because, like, he was also involved in some really shady stuff. And,
100%.
he was involved with shady stuff overseas. He had private jets he was on all the time. He was with other women. So easily something else could have happened to him.
Sure.
But I don't know. Like, I think she's totally capable of it. Because she's a little crazy. But I do think out of all of them, she's less of a predator than the rest. I do think she actually does care about the cats, but she does make a lot of money off of them. Now, she has this reserve. But I want to know how much of her yearly income actually goes towards, these extinct animals and animal foundations and, helping this out, or if it's just, goes into her pocket. I don't know. Like, I'd like to see those records. That's what I'm more concerned about. Like, I know a dead guy is important to know about, but at this point, like, you can't bring him back. So I just really want to know if she's doing right by these cats. Is anybody doing right by these cats?
That's the main question. Right. Absolutely.
Yes, it's just so frustrating. But I hope that as people are watching it, they're not just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, this is a train wreck. Like, this stuff actually happened. These people actually exist in our world. There are 10,000 cats just roaming around America right now. They're getting sold on the black market. They're getting killed. It's not necessary, and it's all because we think we're better. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, and at one point, so Jeff comes into the picture. Jeff comes into the picture, and Jeff is seen as the angel benefactor. Joe's being sued by Carol. He's hemorrhaging money because of the lawsuits. He keeps trying to change the name of the zoo. He keeps trying to change who owns the zoo. He puts the zoo in his mom's name. He puts the zoo in one of his husband's name.
He bankrupted his mom.
By the way, his boyfriend has a tattoo that says "Property of Joe Exotic."
Not anymore, though.
Excuse me.
He
got that
covered up in the worst way ever.
Right? You can still see it.
You can see it.
So anyway, Jeff comes in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And here's what Jeff does. Jeff takes exotic cats, and he and his wife go down to Las Vegas, and they put the tiger cubs into suitcases and smuggle them into a suite at one of the casinos. Then they go down on the street and find young women who want to come up and get their photo taken with baby tigers, and then try and seduce them with drugs and have sex with them.
Like you do. Wow.
But
so then he gets involved.
Fall into it. It's crazy.
Right? Because people are like, there's one employee who's like, these people are the worst people I've ever met, but I love these cats. So that's why I'm here.
Sure. But like,
and he's a convicted criminal as well, which I know
most of them are.
If you paid your dues, I'm all good about it.
Right.
And they all think that they're doing the right thing, which is, I don't know, they might be kind of 10% doing the right thing, maybe 20% doing the right thing, but then most of it's just all shady. It's crazy that it just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy, like you guys have mentioned, that this is going on in real life. This isn't a movie. This isn't something that somebody made up. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
something that's happening in some other country. Like we think of ourselves as civilized, a place where stuff like this wouldn't happen, but it does, and I think that's why people fall into it. Like nobody's gonna think, oh, these people are inviting me up, like to do this kind of, you know what I mean? To
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I
Mm-hmm.
Well,
wouldn't
he
go to a
had
stranger's
celebrities.
hotel room.
Joe has had celebrities show up to his
Yeah.
zoo and buy cats.
Shaquille O'Neal showed up
Shaquille O'Neal.
and bought 3 tigers off of him.
Well, of course he did.
And Shaquille talks about that on one of the NBA broadcasts.
Like, okay. But if there was an NBA player that I could picture wanting a tiger, it would be Shaquille O'Neal. Like
Dennis
that's about
Rodman.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman too. But for very different reasons. Shaquille O'Neal just wants a cat to like sit on his lap and cuddle with. It's like his size. Dennis Rodman, there's other stuff going on there. I don't know.
I don't know. I think Dennis Rodman's probably like one of the most boring people we'll ever meet. Like he's probably one like you see him on a daily basis and he's like me. He's downstairs on his couch watching stuff.
Probably.
Like he's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like he's not really even doing anything exciting. His hair is the most exciting thing about him, probably. And the fact that he hangs out in China.
Yeah.
Oh, so then one other thing. This is how Joe ends up getting one of the reasons that he gets caught is because he is funneling money from the zoo and using that to fund his presidential and then later gubernatorial races.
Okay.
He's printing shirts, he's printing bumper stickers, he's printing condoms with his face on them. Because it's for your protection, because if you don't use it and if you don't elect him, you're screwed.
All right.
I think either way you're screwed.
Yeah.
I
just feel like
really, you
I feel
really
like that would
can't
just
write this.
ruin the mood.
He has country albums. He has music videos.
Multiple albums.
He has underwear that he sells in his gift shop that he created himself. So again, this is like all of this money that he could have put towards conservation. He bought things that have his name on it to sell to people to make more money and to get him more known. It's not about the cat. In the beginning, I do think for him it was about the cats, but this is that rule
they say that
you always say is that all of these people were given a little bit of power.
Yeah.
And they all turned cray-cray. Their cray-cray turned on like all knots up of cray.
They went all the way up to 11.
Yeah. It sounds like it. This is the most bizarre story I think I've heard in a long time.
And the thing is that there's questions still left over after the series. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a second season.
Really?
Well, they have to because there's more coming. Like Joe is appealing. Right? Now you've got like, where has everyone gone? Luckily, his first husband that he was with forever, he got his teeth fixed finally, and he got that tattoo covered up.
Kind of
covered up.
Tried to get it covered up.
So it's down below his belly button, and it says "Property of Joe Exotic," and then he gets a bull face placed there, but the text is still legible through the tattoo.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think a lot of these people that worked for him, they really thought that they were doing the right thing. They really thought that they were part of, and worked for all of them. They really thought they were part of something that was helping someone out. They came from broken homes and broken lives, and they thought to themselves, these are animals, and animals make us all feel good, and then I'm a part of something where other people can come see these animals. They can be saving these animals that need to be saved, and they're also educating people. But then it just turned into like a nightmare. It's basically reminds me of that scene from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory where the little singing androids start burning. Like they start burning up. I think it's going to be such a great ride. And it looks so great. And look at these animatronics smile at,
Yes, this is from the newer
Sorry, I had to jab you.
From the newer and far superior Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, directed by Tim Burton.
I'm sorry, the connection went bad. I thought you said that it was the worst version of that show.
Well, you know I didn't say that.
That's what I heard.
Although,
but there is going to be a new animated series directed by Taika.
Yep, Taika Waititi is doing
He's a
one.
busy guy. He's a busy guy.
And I will see anything he makes because I just
100%.
convinced it'll be good.
So, Joe, the Tiger King, has been sentenced to 22 years for violence against, I think they got him for both animals and people.
Yeah,
Tigers
for killing the 5
people.
cats, for selling cats, and for hiring the hitman to take Carol out. Yeah.
But there are so many other people that need to be arrested, and that's why I think there's going to be another season, because there are like at least 3 more people at least that they could arrest.
I would think so.
And now's the time to go out and find them because they can't travel anywhere.
Exactly.
So, they're at home. So you talked about this sounding like a cult, and honestly, like I have this weird fascination with documentaries about cults. Like what draws someone into a cult, and I do think it typically has a charismatic leader, obviously, is a big part of it, and someone who, and I think most people who get involved at first, it's I want to do the right thing, I want to do a good thing, and this is a good thing. And then you start seeing the crazy after time, and that's what this sounds like a lot. There's not necessarily a religious aspect to this particular cult, but it definitely sounds like it is. And their devotion to Joe and the cats.
Yeah, Joe is his own religion for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I definitely think Doc is way his own religion. Like Doc is a different. I want to know more about Doc. I hope that they just do a whole series about him, because he reminds me of a cult leader in more than one way. Like I think Joe just makes really, really terrible choices, but I think Doc actually builds his life in a cult environment on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like Joe makes really bad choices. He's really good, like you said, and charismatic and lures people in. But I think Doc is like a whole nother maniacal mess.
Yeah.
Doc takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Tiger King, it's on Netflix. What do you guys give it for a grade?
Oh, I give it an A, man. Like it has the editing is fantastic. The sound is fantastic. The way they bring you back and forth between all the characters and they just suck you in is absolutely great.
It's 7 episodes. Each episode's about 45 minutes, so it's about 5, maybe 6 hours total. So not that long of a show.
So
but yeah, I would give that an A. I've actually watched it twice now. I watched it once, and then I said to my wife, "You've got to watch this show."
Interesting. So there you are. If you're sitting in quarantine, which we all are, and you've got time, which we all do, sounds like the Tiger King is worth checking out. And you kind of go ahead.
It's a deep, dark rabbit hole.
Yeah. And you'll be Googling stuff like during the show. Like you will be. Like you're going to learn about some things that you had no idea you even needed to know.
And it sounds like it's a show that you could watch and gauge like how crazy you're going in this whole quarantine thing. Like if this is starting to make sense and sound normal, I've gone too far. I need to find a way to connect with someone outside.
How crazy are you? Carol to Joe. Like between Carol and Joe. Doc's a whole different. I'm not even going to put Doc in there because he's gross.
Yeah. He's on a different radar.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you guys for being here. This has been fun to connect somehow. Like it's not the same, but it's still great. It's still good to see you guys.
My family's back.
Can we do a virtual high five?
Virtual high five.
1, 2, 3.
That was good. That was good.
We're going to have to work on that.
All right. If you guys have feedback or suggestions for the show, something you'd like us to cover, you can send that to podcast@moviesthatmakeus.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the places. And we'd love to hear from you. And we'll thank you for listening, and we won't see you at the movies.
Hang in there, folks.
We got you. We got you.
This will end someday.
That's right. And we'll be back again next week. So don't worry. We'll still be here. So,
Yay.
All right. Bye.